I crazy for wanting to go back to the seasons where we had Shake saying his love blurry? I wish he was the worst problem we had right now. Hey guys, it's Briar of Briar Chats and welcome back to my channel. If you like honest opinions, trash talking, and the occasional dad joke, stick around because I think we'll get along. Now like I think we are in the millions of people have been watching Love is Blind season 6. Yeah, it's true. This is not new for me. If there's one thing you guys need to know about me, I will perceive and yap about Love is Blind annually, or does it happen twice a year? Either way, I know for sure that Love is Blind always comes out around the same side as Married at First Sight, and it's just like, it's almost at this point like holiday season, except it's like peak trash reality TV season, because here in New Zealand we get Married at First Sight Australia at the same time as Love is Blind, and my brain turns to literal mush. Like, there's no more logic, there's no more like quality thoughts going on up in here. It's just garbage. So I thought, why not talk about that garbage here with you today? So if you, like me, have been indulging in Love is Blind season 6, why don't you just stick around? Because in today's video, I wanted to chat about season 6, the reunion, and why this is the only kind of logic I have left within me is when it pertains to said reality TV show, because I kind of wanted to talk about my hypothesis and theory of it all, that Love is Blind, much like Married at First Sight, can no longer be about the love. It cannot be about the love anymore because it's gone too far. Like, it went past the point of no return, and we're never going to get what we had in those early seasons of true hopeful singles looking for love. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick around and let's get into it. Look at me, and look at me. I have one word to say to you. We're going to keep it respectful. We are definitely, definitely having a yap about these people. And we are also definitely criticizing their behavior, how they were portrayed. And I am willing to acknowledge right now, that we have not seen the whole truth. Wait, what? How does it go? The whole truth, nothing. What? Clearly I've never been married. Wait, no. That's stupid. I told you my brain is mush. Anyway, I can acknowledge that we are not seeing the whole truth and nothing but the truth. We are getting a side of the truth. We don't know them as people. We don't know the whole story. Like, I get it. I acknowledge the limitations on what I'm talking about, and I also just want to make it like super clear. I'm not here for the cheap shots. Like, I'm not here for like ragging on people's looks. I think we can criticize behavior and the character, the reality person we were shown without going into that. But I know you guys wouldn't anyway. Like, don't even worry about it. Sometimes we just have to remind people. Any hoodly toodly. A quick recap, if maybe you just love hearing me yap, but you haven't watched Love is Blind, I'll give you like the quickest recap that I personally, me, Briar Chats, can personally muster. We get X amount of participants, boys and girls. So it's a bit heteronormative. Yeah, it's true, because we're just having guys dating girls and girls dating them. Anyway, this is not being succinct, Briar. And basically the premise of the show is this. You date a bunch of singles in what is called the pods, which is a room so you can only hear the person you're dating. You cannot see them. The whole premise is, can you fall in love sight unseen, and is love truly blind? Because the whole point is, if you want to proceed, if you want to go to the next round, if you want to be in the chance to become America's Next Top Model, you have to propose, and you only get to see each other after the engagement. You then go on a honeymoon, which I've never understood, and then you live together for 4 weeks, and at the end of that 4 weeks you get like legally and for real skis married. Obviously you both don't have to say I do, and obviously at any point you can end the relationship, but the whole idea and the premise of it all was to test the kind of trope or idea, is love blind? Can you fall in love with someone as a person, and can that translate to them as a physical being. So in season 6, we had 5 couples that got engaged. And actually, I think they all survived the honeymoon as well. So that's good for them, I guess. The tables very quickly turned for 2 couples. The first couple that we lost after the engagements was Brittany and Kenneth. The minute they got back to the real world, Bestie, aka Kenneth, was on his phone the whole time. She's trying to talk to him, engage with him, and he's made big promises. He was doing the absolute most on the honeymoon. He was like, I'm going to treat you, I'm going to wine you, I'm going to dine you, I'm going to give you all of my time for you. And when they get back, he's like, soz babes, I'm actually a principal, so I have to text all the parents. He had a lot of emails and it was so weird. They literally, the way they broke up, it was so bizarre. They were just having a conversation around like the kitchen bar area and they were just like, yeah, it's not going to work. And you were just like, damn, did they just break up? Like, it was weird. The next couple to fall will be of much a topic of conversation in a smidge was JerAmey and Laura. Now, JerAmey had a big decision in the pods because he fell for 2 girls. He fell for Laura, who he ended up picking to propose to, but he also fell for Sarah Ann. And he chose Laura. However, very quickly it felt like they didn't quite match. She was quite serious and he was like, I'm so silly and goofy. A little bit too clean and tidy, if you know what I mean. But when they get back to the real world, they love to call it the real world, Sarah Ann had slid into his DMs and was like, thank you so much for the experience, bleep, blop, bloop, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of it, she said, and if you ever change your mind, like, welcome. And he, to be fair, did show literally everyone the message. But then he did also go out on the town a couple days later and run into Sarah Ann at a bar. And then he just hung out with her till 5, 6 in the morning. Oh yeah, but they didn't kiss. Don't worry guys, because they didn't kiss, so they did nothing wrong. Okay, cool. So after that, it just literally boom, exploded. They broke up. He was like, I tried to send you flowers. Like I asked for your address. And she was like, I don't need your flowers. Like, ew. Like, you literally just met my family and told me all these very big promises to them and me, and then you hung out with another girl till 5 a.m. and ditched me? Boy, bye. And very quickly, JerAmey and Sarah Ann get together and like they're at this lake party. Throughout the season, they have kind of reunions. Sometimes they try and do it around someone's birthday, but I guess it was nobody's birthday this season. So they just had to have a lake party. And so they all caught up at the lake, and then literally JerAmey and Sarah Ann are just like on their own riding jet skis, being silly and goofy. Those were the 2 couples we lost quite quickly, and then right before the weddings, we lost Jimmy and Chelsea. That was an interesting one. They had a very rocky relationship where it was never stable. Like they were kind of always fighting and it was kind of hard to watch. So right before the wedding, he's like, so I'm so set on you, babe. Like, I know I love you, but like, how do you feel about me? And she was like, well, yeah, you're right. Like, I was struggling with my decision, but now I know I want to marry you. And he's like, oh my God, yay. I don't want to marry you, so I think we should break up. It was bizarre. So we were literally left with Amy and Johnny and Clay and AD getting married. And oh my gosh. If I could complain to the producer or the editor, I guess, of Love is Blind over one thing, it would be this. Why do you make the wedding episode so gosh darn long? They are so unnecessarily long. They have like a bajillion flashbacks. And you did this for what? Like, don't act like we haven't been binging this show for the past few weeks. Like, I have not forgotten. So Amy and Johnny, they are kind of like what I call the unproblematic couple. Like, they kind of just were meant to be together. They are sliving, sloughing, and sloving, and they say yes to each other. The only problem that they seem to come across is that they don't know how to safely have sex, because they're like, she's like, I just don't want to willy-nilly go on birth control, and he's like, maybe I could get a vasectomy, and then he's like, oh, turns out those are kind of serious, and then like everyone's sitting there like, have you guys never heard of a condom before? It was very, very odd. I wanted to be like that gym teacher from Mean Girls and just be like, hey, Now everybody take a rubber. And then the final couple is Clay and AD. And AD is what I would describe as a slay queen slay. She called out Sarah Ann for her very unkind and malicious behavior going after JerAmey when he was still engaged to Laura, and just her general messiness. Leading up to the wedding, you can feel like she's like, I love this man. Like, he is my man. I love him. I'm happy. I want to grow with him. I know neither of us are finished projects and I can see us growing together. And Clay, he's just coming to terms with the fact that he has a lot of trauma that is to do with relationships, because Clay was a runner, he was a track star, he was an athlete, so he was a kind of a rock star, like an overachiever growing up. Like, he's a Virgo. Do I need to say more? No, but I will. He wants to be best of the best. I think he struggled with that because in relationships he kind of only saw the worst of the worst, where his dad, like, this is so cooked, his dad would take him on trips where he would go cheat on his mum. And he had to keep that a secret. I'm not surprised that Clay is scared to get married, and he clearly didn't really contemplate how this would impact his feelings on marriage until literally being on the show. AD is getting ready, she's looking beautiful, amazing, and then Clay has his dad come in and give him a pep talk. And you can just tell that it gets really into his head, because he's like, if you have any doubt, like, you've already lost. If you quiver, you quote. If you shook, you shaked. If you eggs, you baked. You know, like, it was odd, but you could tell that it totally played on the fact that Clay wasn't sure. You could just see it when his dad was saying, like, if you're unsure, you've already lost. He was like, no, you're right. I shouldn't go through with this. And so AD says yes and Clay says no. And that is where we are up to when we get to the reunion. This was definitely the best reunion that we have had in Love is Blind history. Like, I have been a huge critic, and I mean, maybe you're welcome, I don't know, of these reunions. Like, they have been so softball. Like, the questions that they were asking, no one had typed. Like, no one had left a comment asking that. Like, the questions in past reunions were so unnecessary and softball, and it just never gave us the answers we were looking for. So this reunion was quite a different vibe, because Nick and Vanessa were there and ready. They wanted to show the receipts. They wanted to spill the tea, and tea was spilled. Yes. The only critique I really have of this reunion was it was a really long reunion. Like, I think it was 90 minutes, but we did have a lot of like past cast or past seasons cast. And I'm just kind of like, because before they've done catch-ups with the older seasons, like, couldn't they have just done that separately? I felt like even though it was a super long reunion, some of the really big topics from the season, like, we didn't really dive deep into, if at all, because we were sharing it with people of Love is Blind's past. I mean, they were fine, like, it was fine, but it wasn't my favorite. Also, another thing that I never really considered was that the Love is Blind pods, I don't know why, I always thought it was like in a house, but it's actually just a TV set. And like, that makes so much more sense when you think of all the aerial shots that they get. But for some reason, I always thought that I don't know why I didn't think it was a set, but they revealed that it was a set, and I was like, oh my gosh, tea is being spilled. Let's now get into the reunion itself and where each of the couples stand now. So let's start with Sarah Ann and JerAmey, who are now a new couple, and Laura actually zoomed in because she was in Barcelona on a work trip. It was revealed that Sarah Ann and JerAmey are in fact still a couple. They live together now. It felt very strained though, and I'm going to show you a TikTok in a little sicky mundo. The way that they were talking, it was almost like, you know, when your mum holds your hand really tightly, not because she loves you, but because you've done something wrong and she wants you to know that you are not getting dessert later, like you are in trouble. Like, it felt like that. It didn't feel like, ooh, we love each other and that's why we're giving each other affection. It was like, like, it was it was intense. It was a lot. Look, we have had couple swaps in the past. Like, this is not new. And it's not like the craziest thing that could happen when you have the pods in the beginning where you're falling for different people. Like, I am willing to acknowledge that. But the way that JerAmey and Sarah Ann went about it was so awful. They literally went behind Laura's back whilst JerAmey was still engaged to Laura. She had no idea that he was having these bigger reservations and doubts. And then Sarah Ann's like not at all sorry. Like, she's like, I'm just Demi Lovato. I'm sorry, not sorry. They were actually being asked good questions and they were being pressed by Nick and Vanessa. But when they're people that aren't willing to reflect on how they contributed to the situation that they're in and how they didn't go about it, like how they would change it, you're just never gonna get a satisfying answer, because there was no sorry to Laura. There was no accountability. Like, Sarah Ann is sitting there screaming, being like, you're a pick-me. What's she called? Pick-me-sha. She's like yelling at Laura, yelling at Chelsea, like, you guys are pick-me's. Oh, she's yelling at Jess, like, you're a pick-me, you're a pick-me, I'm not a pick-me. Like, category is no, I will not reflect on my own actions, thank you. I was actually really impressed by the questions that Vanessa and Nick asked, especially regarding Sarah Ann's TikToks, because Sarah Ann has been wilding on TikTok. She was very much in her own element of like, once you guys see the truth, you'll know I'm not the villain. And then when we saw the truth, we were like, oh my gosh, that is actually so much worse. We thought that he broke up with Laura and then went to you, but there was definite overlap. You definitely had malintent messaging him whilst you knew that he was still engaged. So it was just a little bit odd that she thought that we would be on her side after that. Also, Nick called her out about the fact that she was TikToking. I just sounded like such a boomer. But Sarah Ann was making TikToks in JerAmey's house that we saw on the show. He was like, people said that you spoiled it because you showed that you're in his house. Like, what do you have to say about that? And she was like, I just didn't realize that people would actually look into things. It's like, so you wanted the attention, but you didn't want people to notice where you were filming? Please. Treat us like adults. Give us some sort of respect that we are actually not that stupid. So anyway, now I wanted to play you this TikTok, which this husband has been so funny on my For You page. He has been analyzing all the men's on Love is Blind. He did some of Jimmy as well, but this one of JerAmey I feel like perfectly summarizes the situation.
But no, I think the experiment does work. And I'm sitting next to someone that, I love with all my heart.
I'm sitting next to someone that I love with all my heart. Look at his face. Nothing. No emotions. No response. Nothing on his face. When a woman tells you, especially in front of everybody, I'm sitting next to someone that I love with all my heart. This experiment worked. Hey, I love you too, babe. Fucking ditto. Anything. Say something, man. Like I said before on the other video, something's going on, man.
I couldn't have said it better than him. The body language, the way that JerAmey and Sarah Ann were acting towards each other, like I said before, was not loving. It was not affectionate. It was not, I'm so glad we went through this to be where we are today. It felt tense. It felt awkward. And it was just hard to watch. Not that I'm wishing doom on anyone's relationship, but it just wasn't giving longevity. They even talked about how it was like on and off, up and down a roller coaster, because Chelsea calls them out and is like, every time I've seen you, JerAmey, you're telling me that you guys broke up. And he's like, I saw you twice. Like, yeah, it's been a roller coaster. Like, it's just the defensiveness. They're not willing to be called out for their behavior. And so in that way, it was just never going to be super satisfying because they were never going to be that accountable. Also, I know that there are a lot more serious things about JerAmey, and I want to talk about those at the end. So we'll go through the reunion and then we'll talk about the JerAmey thing later. So let's just watch one of Sarah Ann's TikToks just so you guys can get a vibe. You can catch a vibe of the energy she's putting out online.
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head? Sure, but when it comes to Sarah Ann, I don't. Everything I learn is voluntary and not by my choosing. Not only does Sarah Ann, our patriot that be, our country 'tis of thee, have a problem with Laura, she also has a problem with Chelsea. No, really, it is actually Delulu. Let's watch it and we will debrief after.
So I heard that Chelsea uploaded a video trying to deflect her haters onto me, which I think she deleted. But that's okay, because I have no problem with Chelsea. I like Chelsea. I think you should know that some people can take the heat and some people can't. So y'all try not to make her too uncomfy.
Hey there, Delulu, what's it like inside your brain? Anyway, silly little goose, let's talk about a couple things, shall we? 1, Chelsea doesn't need to deflect her haters to you, because I think the haters are... they're already where they need to be. 2,
Y'all try not to make her too uncomfy.
I think it's like really important for people to take their own advice sometimes. Like, oh, don't make Chelsea uncomfortable. Have you ever watched any of her videos? They make me so uncomfortable. Do you know what else makes me uncomfy? That gag you did, the timing was off. You could have performed it better. It was not believable. If you're gonna sell me on it, sell me on it. And if anyone is sitting here and it's like, this is not real, it's fake, it's a TV show, maybe. But what's not fake or fake news, as Sarah Ann would say, Patreon January 6th, is that your likes on TikTok are public. So if you're sitting here and telling us that maybe don't make Chelsea uncomfy, maybe say, I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it, take a step back, take a beat, look at yourself in the mirror and go, I make some really uncomfy decisions, don't I? Yeah, you do. You're really committing to the bit that you did nothing wrong, yeah? You were the victim. Aw, I'm so sorry. No! Not on my watch. No, you are not. Bye-bye.
I just think that's incredibly impressive logic to think that the only reason you have haters is because of someone else and not because of your own actions. She acts like this was just like a script and they're just little silly characters and it's not real. Like she's like, we entertained you babes. And it's like, reality TV is entertaining because it's real people. Now you're insinuating that it's not real, like you just did it for hee and haha. And I do think that a little bit of side eye to JerAmey and Sarah Ann is that they have kind of collaborated to maybe have some strength in numbers and make it seem like all of the things that they did to other people were worth it. I think it's very telling that Sarah Ann was deleted from the girls group chat, unfollowed all of the girls on Instagram, but kept following all the guys and is not friends and does not talk to any of the girls on the show. The actions and the people around you speak more than enough about who you are as a person. Everyone loves another couple from a different season who was a couple swap is Bliss and Zach. And later in this reunion, they actually show us like them all going to their baby shower. Like everyone loves them because they were good people. And yeah, Zach made a mistake. Like everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. But that is not the energy that JerAmey and Sarah Ann came to us with. They came to us with the Demi Lovato, sorry not sorry. Anyway, now that I feel like I've jibbed about them for way too long, let's move on to the next couple. And this is what I mean when we had a lot of time, but somehow it felt very rushed because they smushed Chelsea, Jimmy, and Jessica together. Now, Jimmy had the choice between Chelsea and Jessica. And look, I don't think it was ever really going to work between him and Jess, but where was I going with that? Oh yeah, but he definitely strung her along and you could tell it was like way back when the drama was, does Chelsea look like Megan Fox? I don't know, you tell me. He was like, do I pick Megan Fox or a single mum that challenges me? And he picked Megan Fox. And I'm sure it was deeper than that, but also was it? It's very interesting because Chelsea and Jess are now friends. So I feel like the dynamic has obviously shifted a lot. It was weird. Jess kind of got a villain edit, but also kind of not, because earlier in the season, before she met Jimmy, was saying like, I still have feelings for him. He still has a piece of my heart. But then when they met, it was like night and day between Jess and Sarah Ann, because Jess was like, I just hope that you're so sure about her. I hope, you know, treat her well. She completely let it go and wasn't there to try and take Jimmy from Chelsea. Yeah, it's going to take a minute to get over him. And the fact that she has to watch him be with someone else, like, yeah, that would be a lot. Okay, I acknowledge that. This is what I don't like. No one should be allowed to do external interviews. I should get all of my information from the show and the reunion, because all of these cast members are doing all of these interviews and it's annoying. I don't like it. I know that's such an unreasonable thing of me to ask, but it's just annoying because it's like there's all of these other side stories going on because people go on and yapper way too much to other people to get the likes, clicks, and engagement and to get their side of the story out. And Jimmy, I guess, was trying to save face and trying to make himself look less bad. And the way he did it was to kind of throw Jess under the bus and say, like, one of the deciding factors was that you just left me 10 minutes into one of our final dates. It just didn't give me a good feeling. I wasn't reassured. And it was just super odd because she was like, I thought we were on good terms. So to hear that interview for Jess was very odd. And I was like, what is going on? I've never heard about this interview. But anyway, Jess is like, it definitely wasn't 10 minutes. Like, it was at least an hour. And he was like, well, it felt like 10 minutes to me. Like, I don't believe you. And then so Jess goes, roll the tape. And this was my chef's kiss, one of my favorite parts, because they literally show the time lapse of the date he's talking about. And it was, I think, like an hour, maybe it was an hour into when they had their break. They went away for 10 minutes and then went back in for like another 45 minutes. So the date itself was over 2 hours long before Jess was like, I think we should wrap it up here. Like, this is feeling forced. It's not feeling like us. And Jimmy's like, thank you for that. You did this for what, Jimothy? I don't know, but let's move on to him and Chelsea. Now, I feel like Chelsea is the perfect example of, yes, someone that's insecure, but there is a reason for those insecurities being played on, but we didn't see them because Jimmy was playing the part. He was one way when the cameras was off and one way when the cameras was on. It made Chelsea look insecure and crazy and like she was nagging for him to tell her he loved her. Huh? I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, it made her look very unstable and very needy, which was very contradictory to how we saw her in the pods. But I think it is because there was reasons for her to feel that way. Like we found out with his female friendships, like there was a line that they had slept together at one point, and even still until the reunion, Jimmy is very much in defense of his friend and very much throwing out Chelsea to the dogs. But Chelsea fully took it on the chin. Like, she fully acknowledged that that was her fault and she could never not be sorry for that. And I don't think she forgot the cameras were there overall, but I can understand when you're arguing, like, you aren't thinking, oh my gosh, I'm being filmed, because otherwise you wouldn't be arguing. Like, you'd want to look good. So I understand how it happened and how she let slip that confidential information. I think it's just further proof that Jimmy was telling her and behaving in a different way off screen to on screen. And I have more evidence that I would like to present to you guys to prove it.
That morning, because the night before, this is not shown and it's not talked about at all, asked if he could stay at his townhouse. He said, would you care if I go and stay at my own place? And I said, no, like I had a little wine night with the girls. I'll go home to the townhouse. I'm right down the street. You know, I'll go chill by myself, and you have your time to yourself. That's super healthy. Go ahead. He FaceTimed me in bed, saying he was so tired, and we hang up. I just get back to the townhouse. We hang up, and 2 minutes go by, and he butt dials me. And you hear all his friends in his apartment, all the girls, everyone talking about the next bar they're going to. And when I tell you, I was just in disbelief.
To me, just further proof that Jimmy was telling her things and saying things and acting a completely different way off camera than he was on. And this is kind of where I think maths are in the right, Married at First Sight Australia, because they are constantly being filmed. And sure, you can still get edited in a certain light, but you can't hide who you are if there's always a camera there. And I just think when you have the space and time to not be filmed and to act another way and to talk about things off camera, I just think it leads to disingenuousness and it leads to gaps in the story. Like, I feel like with Love is Blind, like, there's so much going on and there would be so much happening and we see so little of it. We could definitely sprint it out to 20 eps not have those big long ass weddings, and have a really great reunion. I don't think I'm asking for too much. Anyway, let's move on to Trevor, who Chelsea actually was deciding between Jimmy and Trevor. It's so interesting because Chelsea says that there was something in her gut that was saying she shouldn't and couldn't choose him, and she couldn't figure out why. And like, she literally like Karma is a cat, like her and Karma vibe like that, because literally a year later when this show comes out, it is revealed that he had a girlfriend or a girlfriend that he was telling he loved before, leading up to, like, on the plane traveling to sea, and then literally once he leaves, and he gets on this reunion and is like quivering like a little baby duck. Like, I was shocked. He was like, I had this whole speech planned, and like he was just silent, and like AD was so real for that. She was like, no, say it with your full chest. And I think that really would have been the only way he could take it on the chin, is be like, I accept this with my full chest that I fully effed up and I wasn't ready, and Chelsea could feel that but couldn't see that, and I'm sorry that she didn't know, or she could never understand why, and now she knows why, and I'm sorry. But no, he was like, I'm just so quivery and quaky and I don't know if he was trying to get the sympathy, like he got the mullet and like he was like I felt like I was being sad-fished and gaslit, and I hate that. Here's a little TikTok to further on that.
Trevor was still lying on the reunion about his ex-girlfriend. But we all knew that, right? Y'all remember that little part on the reunion where he said that he told her if he chose Chelsea that he was going to stay with Chelsea, and that he had already told his ex that? She just dropped a receipt. It's a text message that's time-stamped and dated where he literally says, when I was in the pods, I never questioned who I'd be with, even if I got engaged. It was always you and will always be you. That was posted directly on her Instagram. So at this point, Trevor, stop lying. You know the girl has receipts. You weren't there for the right reasons. You were never going to be with Chelsea. It was all fake. I know some of you guys are feeling bad for him, but I am glad that Nick and Vanessa grilled him. I honestly did not expect that from them. I thought that they were going to let him wiggle out of it, but they read the receipts. They went in depth. I do think me and Reality Ashley should have been credited because we definitely broke this tea, but whatever. We got the text messages first, and they didn't even give us no credit. It was our story, but whatever. This is the first time that we really seen the host get into a castmate's ass. I know some of you guys feel bad for him. I do not. He definitely looked like he was caught off guard. He was on silent. He was on mute. He didn't know what the fuck to say. I would have ran off stage. I would have ran off stage crying. I wouldn't have said anything because it just made himself look worse. He admitted that the texts were real, so thank you. Admitted that he went on there for good and bad reasons. Thank you. We know you went on there for the wrong reasons. And then his whole like, I wasn't dating her because I never asked her, will you be my boyfriend? Will you be my girlfriend? Like, are you 7? Are we 7? You're telling the girl you love her. You're telling her you want to meet her kid. Y'all are clearly in a relationship. I'm glad that Nick did not let him wiggle out of that. Like, oh, you're going to go with that you didn't really love her? He's like, no, I did love her. Yeah, sir, we know. You can't deny anything. It's all in the text thread. Her and I were toxic. I was toxic. I need therapy. Like, you need a lot more than therapy, bruh. You should have just went out there and said, I don't know what I was thinking. I apologize. If I were him, I would have went with I didn't expect to have real feelings when I went into the show, and then went in faking it, and I really fell for Chelsea. I would have tried to take that approach, and I probably would have tried to shed some real tears. And then Trevor trying to like bring up Johnny, like, Johnny knew I was tore up about it. Like, nah, bruh, don't bring me in it. Leave me the fuck out of it. You guys trust Johnny. Like, Johnny, just don't even take that L. Just stay out of it. And I love that Amy clocked him like, were you sad to be leaving Chelsea, or were you sad to be leaving the show? You were definitely sad to be leaving the show. And I love that Nick was basically like, get the fuck off my stage. Like, get the fuck out of here. You weren't here for the right reasons, and you got caught. Although I do think that there are some other cast members that were also not there for the right reasons, but Trevor was definitely the worst. And they held his head to the flame. They did not let him off easy. It seemed like he was not expecting, like he was blindsided. Like, do you not have a manager? Do you not have a publicist that prepared you for this moment? You should have had something to say, sir. But the fact that he's like still lying, like, she has receipts. Just come clean. Just say sorry at this.
It is such a good point that probably because the last reunions had not been so intense and didn't come with the receipts, he thought he could kind of spin his own narrative because this is kind of like the official Love is Blind narrative. But he was called out and he was like, can I please go now? And Nick was like, yeah, you should leave. Like, no, you do not get to eat the platter at the end of this, you're nasty. It makes so much more sense why Chelsea couldn't choose him, because when you're watching the pods, you're like, oh my god, we love Trevor. Like, I don't love him. I thought he was fine. Let's quickly go over the final two couples before we get into the JerAmey situation and then my final hypothesis. So quickly, Kenneth and Brittany. I'm sorry. Again, I felt a little bit gaslit because he was so loving and attentive on the honeymoon, and then he gets back to real life and is on his phone 24/7. And he just kind of was like, I'm a principal, I'm super hands-on, like it's not my fault that I'm so good at my job and I'm so important. It was just kind of, I get what you're saying that I'm on my phone, but actually it was for very important reasons. And so for that reason, I actually am allowed to prioritize myself and my job and my phone over my fiance. And it was just a little bit odd. The other thing that was a little bit odd is they're like best friends now, but they're like, yeah, we talked about like how would we cope and how would we act once we start dating again. I'm like, I don't know, this is starting to feel like a rom-com or something where it's like, you were meant to be together all along. The minute they got back to reality, for whatever reason, Kenneth, you could just tell, had decided Brittany didn't fit in his life, and whether or not that was fair or right, you could just see they were in a bubble and they got along so well and perfectly there, but he for some reason couldn't commit in real life, and that's why he checked out. Like, let's be honest, he was in the departure lounge the minute they got back to reality. Now quickly as well, Amy and Johnny, who were the ones that said yes and are in fact still together, to me they give Brett and Tiffany vibes, but like a little bit more like silly and goofy, I guess. Like, they are silly and goofy. Like I said before, the biggest problem that they had was that they couldn't figure out how to have safe sex. And so they were asked, like, did you not ever consider condoms? And they were like, they just talked around it so weirdly. Like, I was like, I don't think that they did. Like, I don't know. Are we pretty but lights on, no one home? Like, I don't know. It was odd. Johnny was like, I didn't really know about birth control before, guys. I'm just a boy. And I was like, fair, but then what were you doing? I mean, overall, they're a very wholesome, cutesy couple. I'm happy they're together, and they definitely, like, I'm glad that they're still together. They have good vibes. They were the positive light that we needed in this show, because the rest of it was a little bit like, bleh. Finally, Clay and AD. Now, this is what I will say about Clay, and I'm not calling him a narcissist, but he reminds me of this narcissist that I follow on TikTok. And he gives advice. Like, this narcissist on TikTok, he gives advice because he wants to be the best, most helpful narcissist. Like, he's like, I'm still a narcissist. I'm just using it for good and not for evil. And I don't know what's going on with Clay, if he's just a Virgo perfectionist. The way he came onto the show was like he had to be the best. He had to be the one that went and did the most therapy and did the most self-improvement. Like, it's like he cannot help but want to be number one no matter what he's doing in his life. So he had to improve himself the most. Oh, sorry. He had to out therapy, outgrow, out this and that, everyone, to then prove to AD that she should take him back. But she doesn't want to take him back. I hope she doesn't take him back. So that's where we're kind of at. Clay has done so much self-improvement. It was a little bit sad because they were like, did your dad ever apologize to you and like take accountability? And he was like, you know, me and my dad banter, but like we don't talk. And it was like, like you did feel sad in that moment. I don't think Clay is a bad person. Maybe he has narcissistic tendencies. I don't know. He's a perfectionist for sure. He wants to be the best for sure. I can't get over the fact that he thinks that if you're pregnant regardless, you're going to go to the gym every day and you're going to look snatched and you're not going to gain a single penny of unnecessary weight. Like, I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to the JerAmey situation. Now, I wanted to show you guys this video first, just kind of talking about the evil trilogy, if you will, of the men that we had on the show.
Let's talk about Tweedledum, and Tweedledum fuck, okay? When it comes to offense, Jimmy is probably on the bottom of my list of debauchery out of these three, but watching the reunion, it is just mind-boggling to me how these men think that they can get away with murder. The word gaslighting is real, and the three of you are professionals. Let's start with Jimmy John, shall we? No idea if he's still with Chelsea. Don't really care. This is about Jess. Jess was like, you fucked me over in the interview you did. You said our date was 10 minutes and I walked out. And you know what? Production said, roll the tapes. Total time, 2 hours, 13 minutes. Thus proving, fuck around, get caught, and you fucked around, and guess what? You got caught. I honestly don't know which of these two gremlins on the end I should talk about next, because I honestly don't want to talk about either of them, but I have to, because that is life. Oh, fine, we'll talk about JerAmey with an A, Miami Vice. You are not cool. Homie looked rough. Homie looked like he has been through hell and back, and guess what? We have two watching you on our screen. I see dead people. This man is a grade A gaslighter, and he's a terrifying person because he's so good at lying. You believe what he's saying. He's manipulative, and that is one of the scariest kinds of people. I'm over them. We're done with them. Bye-bye. The Chicks created the song Gaslighter for the three of them. Gaslighter, denier. Okay, Trevor, it's time. They had him in a holding room, and they were counting down the clock as if we are watching the ball drop. And you know what? The ball dropped. His balls dropped real fast. Actually, I don't know if they dropped. I think they went back into his body. Because let me tell you, the woman was too stunned to speak. This was the energy he was giving the entire reunion that he was out there. Like, is this the most awkward thing you've ever seen? Also, the fact that they took the messages between him and the woman he was seeing and put them on the screen and read each message one by one. Trevor, I love you so much, honey. I'm excited for it, but more excited to get back to you after and start our life together. Do you still love me? I love you more than anything in this world. That doesn't really sound like someone you were just like kind of seeing. It sounds like you were a lot and dating. I'd also like to say, if you made it this far, I'm really sorry, because there are 4 men. If I have to sit through another season of this man making a joke at the expense of his wife, I'm going to lose it. The irony is what they're talking about while he points at her.
We've been together for 18 years, and you start, life happens, kids, job, and you start getting snippy, and this is the person that you're supposed to be the most respectful to, and I love... Nothing to you. I know I'm snippy, I said it.
You are a floozer, a fucking loser, Nick Lachey. You douche baguette.
Now, I feel like these men are an overall bigger symptom of a problem. And the problem is, why are we picking the men that we're picking? Because, okay, sure, we had Trevor, who is a bad guy and just didn't come on for the right reasons. But then we had JerAmey. Now, JerAmey has been revealed by his ex-girlfriend to be, quite frankly, a dangerous person to be in a relationship with. I am not going to put you guys through his response because it is A, 9 minutes, and B, I don't think he deserves a time of day, breath, or second on my channel. We are not talking about a man that's like called his ex ugly. He has literal charges against him in relation to relationships and his ex-partner. And the fact that this was not a whoa, I'm sorry, I keep fighting this. Me and my chin. We're going for it. But the fact that that was not caught by production is a major red flag and is quite frankly quite scary. So I wanted to show you guys this TikTok quickly to give you the context for it.
To sum up JerAmey's ex's story, let me tell y'all something. Netflix better count their days. Y'all literally just put these girls in danger and could care less. When are you gonna do a background check? Because you're telling me you let this psycho man on here who's been arrested by the cops for pulling a pew-pew on his ex. And then before he did the pew-pew, he had anger issues because she went to the bar, something he did when he was with Laura. She went to the bar with her coworkers at work and wasn't even cheating on him like he was with Sarah Ann. And he got mad, went and drug her out, and then punched a hole in the wall. But back to the pew-pews. This man had the cops called on him, had a record. They searched the house when she called the police after he pulled the pew-pew and found all these other pew-pews stashed around the house and told her that it looked like someone who was a dealer was living here because of where he had all of them stashed. Not 1, not 2, not 3. They said he had a stash in every room. They cuffed the man, so much to the point they asked her, "What charges do you want to press?" Netflix. If I were any of these girls, I would be suing that you put me in that kind of danger. And oh, but he could have changed. Okay, but let's be honest, a zebra doesn't change its stripes. Sarah Ann, honey, you got yourself a winner.
Whether or not you like Sarah Ann, and I'm not sure that many people do at this point, we all now have this information. We can't take it back. And when you see that footage of him at the reunion looking tense, scary, angry, it's not looking good. It's not looking like he's changed. It's not looking like he's found love and is happy. It just, to me, is kind of scary. Like, it's scary that these women were put in this situation, and it's scary that we now all have this information that she is now in this relationship with someone that has been proven to be dangerous. He's proven to be unfaithful. He's proven to be very volatile. And now he's proven to literally have had charges against him. So it's not something that's like, oh, it's silly, it's just reality TV. Like, this is so much more than reality TV. Like, I feel like the biggest concern you should have going on a show like this is like, will I find love? Your biggest concern should not be, am I going to accidentally fall in love with a psycho because he can lie easier to me behind a wall, and then I already have feelings for him and attached to him, so I have my blinders on. It's scary that this is being allowed and that this was never caught. Like, to me, if you're doing background checks on people and if you are vetting them before you get onto the show, he should have never been allowed to come on the show. He should have never got that far. In what world is that okay? And it's just really, quite frankly, scary. It's concerning, and it raises like my bigger concerns with the show as well.
Hey guys, editing me, just coming in here because I did kind of forget one point that I wanted to make, and I feel like it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a good one for my mushy garbage brain. The reason that I find it so concerning that they are bringing on all of these men that have ulterior motives, that literally have other girlfriends, that have charges against them, is because they're asking something so serious of these contestants. They're asking them to find someone that they can marry, that they are going to marry at the end of the experiment. And I just feel like when you're asking something so serious and legally binding of people, you kind of need to put in checks and balances in place so that you're not putting those people in danger. If you then get married to someone, they turn out to be dangerous, that's so much harder to leave them. It's never okay to put people in these types of situations, but it feels just that much worse when the premise and the initial idea and intent behind the TV show is find someone to marry. Why are you guys not protecting the people that you're bringing onto the show? Why are you not looking into these people more seriously? The premise and the way the show is set up, it's easier for people to lie because they're literally, you can't read their body language, you can't see how they're acting. It's easier for these men or anyone to be deceptive, to deceive you, to hide things. You have fallen for them, and so you now have blinders onto them for different reasons because you're emotionally attached. As we saw with Chelsea and Jimmy, they kept trying even though they couldn't have a healthy way to communicate, and she kept trying even though he made her feel desperate and needy and clingy. When you're asking something so serious of these people, the least I feel like you could do is run a comprehensive background check and make sure these people that you're bringing on are like mentally stable and okay. Equally in the pods, it just feels like you have this classic trope of swooning to scorning, loving and being infatuated, and everything is rainbows and butterflies, to everything being a mess, and like you've hidden the side of yourself until you can reveal it later. They are able to hide it and hook people to be with them. Once they're past the honeymoon, the mask is kind of lifted and everything just seems to turn to absolute crap because of the way the show is set up, that they can say all the right things, they can be in an uninterrupted space, they get to go on a romantic holiday that is paid for, and they don't have phones and distractions, so they can set them up to fall in love with them and to say all the right things. But when it actually comes to reality, they don't mean any of it. They don't really follow through with any of it. I feel like Amy and Johnny were the only ones that were truly acting how they said they would, and everyone else was able to manipulate or say the right things long enough to get people to fall for them, only to hurt them later in the end. Those were just my little extra thoughts. Back to filming Briar, who doesn't know that I interrupted her.
This show is no longer about is love blind. Am I crazy for wanting to go back to the seasons where we had Shake saying is love blurry? I wish he was the worst problem we had right now. It just feels like, unfortunately, the ulterior motives for going on a show like this are too high now. And Nick was going around like giving everyone a little lecture being like, you shouldn't come on this show if you have ulterior motives and you're not looking for love. It's like, Nick, that's an exercise in futility. The reward is so much greater than the risk. Literally becoming a famous influencer is worth it to these people because they want the attention, they want the likes, they want the clicks, they want the engagement, and they want to be famous. You can't be mad at them because that is what this show has done for people continuously. At this point, it's like if you fall in love, if you end up being like an Amy and a Johnny, that's kind of just like, oh, that's nice, you're lucky, you're the minority. You guys got an extra prize. But the overall prize is the fame, is becoming an influencer, is becoming someone that can go on other reality shows. Literally, case in point, Izzy and Micah are now going on The Perfect Match, as well as Jess. Izzy and Micah were not fan faves. So it doesn't matter if you get a good or bad edit. As long as you stick it out, as long as you keep pushing and keep putting yourself out there, you are going to get what you want out of this show, which is to become an influencer, not to fall in love. Like, sure, everyone wants to fall in love and everyone wants to live happily ever after. But at this point, that seems to be kind of an afterthought or like an added bonus to the show, whereas it used to be the whole point. Like, I felt like in the early days, like I'm romanticizing it, but in the early days of Love is Blind, and I get that you can't really recreate that anymore because the show is just simply too established, but then you can't get mad at people for applying and wanting to become famous. Like, Nick, like, put your finger away, like, stop telling everyone off. It's like Married at First Sight as well. Like, all of these shows have become so much bigger than their original premise that we are no longer focusing on, are we bringing on people that actually want love? We're bringing on people, are they a good character? Will they translate well on TV? They want this drama. You can't reward that kind of behavior, but then also get mad at people for coming on the show to get famous. Sure, it's bitten Trevor in the ass, but for most people, they will recover from this. They have the following now. They can do whatever they want with it. It's just pointless to kind of demonize the people for coming on a show that is inevitably going to give you a following, to be like, oh my gosh, you only came on here for a following. Of course they did. Of course, that's what reality shows are for. And it just kind of concerns me a little bit, the casting. Like, we found out that Chelsea from season 5 is part of casting now. How do you guys have such bad intuition about people? How did you not see this coming? How did you not do a background check? How are you surprised? How can you cheer yourself on and say that your job is rewarding and it's so amazing when you've put people in danger by bringing on people like Trevor, Jimmy, and what's his name? JerAmey. So I don't know. I feel like I got a bit yelly at the end there, but I just feel like, yes, I enjoy Love is Blind, and yes, I was entertained. Thanks, Sarah Ann, not by you. It's not what it was. It's not about the love being blind. It's reality TV. But because it's tied to this very serious premise of getting married, it feels disconnected. And you're ending up with situations like with Laura, where her grandma, who's like over 90 years old, was flying to their wedding. Like, you're having people do these very serious things, but you're inviting people on that don't have serious or good intentions. And it's just kind of messy. And it kind of just seems to like hurt a lot of people along the way. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how you can remedy that. It seems a bit unfair to get mad at people for going onto a show that's obviously going to get them a lot of attention and followers. The reunion is no longer the one and wholly narrative. There's so many other side plots going on, like, you can't keep up. It's just too much. But yes, I feel like I have yapped way too long, so I'm going to end it here. And I would love to know what you guys thought about this season. What do you guys think about the show in general? Like, please let me know. I need to know all of your thoughts, all of your opinions. Let me know in the comments down below, please. I would love to know. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. If you stayed till the end, you are a real one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to keep up with me between my uploads, I'm on TikTok and Instagram. And I will link my vlog channel where I just posted my Eras tour vlogs, whoop whoop, down below. But don't you worry guys, because I'm not funny there either. Bye!